All right. Well, welcome everyone. Monday with Masami again, but today I feel a little bit better. Like last two Mondays, I just felt like, oh my gosh, it's Monday again. Not because I didn't want to do this. It's just like what is going on with the world. But today there's a little bit of sense of difference. I think the weekend was a little bit tough. I don't know about all of you, but there was just a lot of shifts in energy. And even for Colorado, we live in Colorado, but the fire was pretty bad here. So we are getting a little bit of cooler weather, a little bit of rain. So that's certainly helping. So thank you for some of you that have emailed me and asked me if we are impacted. We're not directly impacted in terms of we're not in close to the fire, but definitely the air qualities, and you could just sense this second fire that started came very quickly in the northern part of Boulder. So it just didn't give a lot of people too many chances or too many hours or too many days to prepare. So that was a surprise. So let's, if you could just keep sending us some cool thoughts and rain, moisture, that would be helpful for us. So today I wanted to get started with, I just thought I really want to start to share what we can do now to prepare for 2021. Because I think some of you that are really sensitive to energy fields are noticing how fast things are moving. It's just one day to another. Not just that, but there's an internal shifts that are happening quite a bit. Even your digestion might feel a little faster too. Your breathing might be a little shallower and faster also. Your mind can't seem to stop or slow down. It just might be a lot of fast moving stuff going on. So it's important that we spend this next couple months. So till about mid-December, there's a certain major change that's going to start to happen around December 20th, 21st, solstice, basically, but we're going to go into right around Christmas time. It's going to be a major shift, but you don't want to wait till then. You want to start to prepare yourself so that it doesn't exhaust you. It's like you're planning a major trip and you don't want to wait to pack like I used to do till the night before and start packing, and I'm packing till 4 a.m. and my flight leaves at 6 a.m. Like that's not what you want to do. Okay. You really want to start to look at, what do I need to pack? What do I need to not take with me? Do I have all the T's crossed and I's dotted, that kind of a thing. Okay. So, it's important that you start to engage in your life right now through releases. So it's not more accumulation, not more taking in, not more consumption of some kind, of whether it's information or food or even just social media, that type of thing. But it's more of a release that you want to create more spaciousness so you're ready for the next go around. Because like I said on my email, the year 2020 is, and I feel like almost like putting the word like was, because to me, energetically, it's ending and the new is already starting to blend in. So the tides are changing already. We're already starting to go into the energetic field of 2021. So year 2020 was and is the prologue to what's to come. Okay, so this is something I definitely want you to start to pay attention to, and then I will go through some steps, and not to overwhelm you. I want to do just like a little at a time, little steps at a time, because we still have time, so we don't need to rush this process, luckily. Okay, and let's see, let me look at my notes, because I was like profusely writing again. So obviously this year is and was lots of upheavals and shakeups and earthquakes and aftershocks, and it's just not quite ending. This month is pretty intense, like I've been saying. So you might just be riding the waves right now. You come up for a little air and then you may have to swim a little bit, and you come up again and you swim again. But there's been a lot of movements, but that is just the prologue, because things are getting shaken up now so that it can take a different route for 2021. But what I see right now that is causing a lot of fatigue and insomnia, indigestion, just the kind of a like energy wise, it's so exhausting, and you feel like you're dragging your feet. Is that there's a, I wouldn't say just a part of you, but maybe a huge part of you that is still resisting to changing or releasing or letting go because it feels still safe to you, or the old ways, and it's so familiar to you that you just don't want to let that go because you don't know what it is that is coming, because we are in the liminal space, we're in the unknown space, and then the unknown continues. So your ego, your mind says, well, I'm not letting that go, I'm going to stay with safety zone, and this is safe to me, this is something that I can count on. But a lot of that's going to get overturned, rethought. The rules are going to change next year, and particularly in the world of, I would say, health, also monetary systems. So those are, and then the third one would be how the foods are resourced. So the farming techniques, where you're going to get food from, how you are going to shop and things like that, particularly when it comes to food sources, are going to change. So you don't want to get too stuck in what's familiar to you. Don't create the same route. Maybe change the way you even get to the grocery store. I mean, start small, literally like that. Okay. And so what I see that the part of the exhaustions and insomnia are coming from, is that we are not letting go of the old narratives and old stories. And some of us are, the image that came to me was like, some of us are hanging on to the tall building, like on a skyscrapers or something, and we're white knuckling and holding on. And the one arm is getting tired, but you're still just want to hold on to what it is and what it was and how it should be. So, Chris calls it the cows, but could, ought to, would, and shoulds, right? So those are the cows. You might want to look at it and say, what are my cows that I'm holding onto the building so hard with? And that's causing you to exert more energy than to just say, you know what, I'm just going to let go and then see where the river takes me. What if I just jumped into the current and then see if I could flow with it? Okay. So don't think of it as a building, but just like let go of the shore, move into the rest of the river that some of us are already swimming in. Okay. And let's see. So to prepare for 2021, because I think that's the theme that I want to talk about, is how do we prepare for this then? Because just don't get in this mindset that, okay, year 2020 was tough, and then hopefully the next year is going to be back to normal. Well, there's no such thing as back to normal, right? I wouldn't even look for that. I don't even know what that means anymore, because what is normal? Was it working? Most likely not. That's why that's being questioned, right? So you definitely want to let go, but you also want to prepare what you're going to pack and what you're not going to pack with you. So, before I go into that, and I have several that I want to talk about, but I'm not going to go through all of them today, because I think it's just be a disservice for me to give you all the preparation today. It's something that you want to unfold in this process. You want to take it slowly, make your own rhythm work. So it's not like something that you are rushing to get done. Because it's not like that. It's an unfolding process. You want to digest it. You want to allow your ego mind, your heart mind, your gut mind to come together so that we can all move together in collective wholeness, right? So let's see. Chris, do you have anything to add before I go into how to prepare?
I think the one thing that comes up for me is that in terms of what you're saying, part of the preparation is to also clear our plate of existing projects. And so anything that we can move off of the to-do list will free up space for us to maybe add some things to our to-be list so that we can move into the next year with just more receptivity intact.
I like that. The to-do list to to-be list. Yeah, it's the really clear your space so it's tangible as well as intangible. How do you clear your mind? How do you clear your some of your heartaches? And how do you work with your own space, your own house, your bedroom, your entry area, your kitchen area, and so on and so forth. And then also, a lot of things are going to get overturned, like I said, like health, monetary systems, and food sources. So, you don't want to get too stuck on, well, this is common sense, isn't it? Or if you want to catch yourself, it's like, what is common sense anyway? Who sets the common sense around us? And those are going to all be questioned. They are already getting questioned this year, and they're turned upside down. So you're going to have to sort it out. And a lot of it is not following somebody else's thoughts, but it's your own thoughts. And this is why I've been saying to all of us, it's like, let's quiet down a little bit. Let's harvest pauses a little bit. And we'll do that in a little bit. I'll take you through a little bit of a practice on that. And things that you thought was safe, even, things like Social Security or any kind of healthcare systems, or things that you just took it for granted. We don't know where this is going, but it's not going to help you to just assume that's going to be there for you next year. And just to say, what if it isn't? Then what can I do for myself today to take care of who I am? Okay. So first is the year 2021 is going to be, I kind of thought about this. It's about reading the waves instead of just riding the waves. Okay, reading, like you're reading through, but you want to read the frequency changes. You want to be able to see a little bit ahead to kind of watch the weather move through, that kind of a thing, like animals know, right? Or Native Americans have taught us, like they have ways to look at, okay, here comes the clouds, or okay, here are some changes in the environment. So you want to be able to start to read what is trying to unfold instead of just riding the waves. I think the riding the waves worked as one of the tools up to this point, but it's no longer about just getting the skill sets, toolkits to ride the waves. But now you want to get to the point of like, I want to choose my own waves, that I can situate myself so that I can get on that waves and surf it and actually enjoy it and have a joyful time doing it. So situate yourself differently in the kind of a right place so that you are reading the waves as it comes. You can just hop on it. So that requires a lot more inner knowing and a lot more inner silence. Okay. And if you do not have that kind of practice every day that you practice some kind of a harvesting pauses, I recommend you begin that now. And let's see. Yeah. So to prepare for 2021, this is the first step that I think is important to take. And this is what we're going to talk about today. But it's about putting things, so letting go, I'm going to say it, release or let go of your tendencies towards putting things into a category, like putting things into a box or compartmentalizing things or into different buckets or specializing or different silos. So creating ways of looking at things that will say, well, this is the bucket green, and this is the bucket red, and this is the bucket yellow. Instead of separating them like that, or for instance, things like, this is the category of unseen category, so I'm going to put it into unseen bucket. So that could be intuition, that could be your guides, that could be your sense of knowing. Maybe that goes into this one bucket. And then here comes the x-rays and MRIs and blood tests and what you can see in the chart. So instead of compartmentalizing yourself like this, know that you are this whole person. So bring the unseen and the seen together. And what if you put your feet, okay, one foot in one bucket and the other foot, and stand with the both, okay, or mix them together and stand in the one bucket, that kind of a thing. So what ends up happening is that oftentimes we create these silos or specializations, because look at the medical system, it's all specialized now. You go to this one specialized person that looks at this one silo, and then you go to the next person for one particular thing. And these are specialists are not communicating with one another. Even though you're coming to them as a whole being, you're being looked at one section at a time. And we do that in our own lives. We do that not just in a medical system, but we do that in politics. We do that with foods. We do that with our health. We do that with our friends, and we do that in our minds. And one of the things that I see often with the hair tissue mineral analysis is that when somebody goes to the extreme burnout stage of stage 4, stage 5 burnout stages, that's when we see them start to accumulate this mineral called calcium. They start to develop calcifications in their bodies. And so their thyroid gets calcified, or their joints start to have excess calcium. They might start to have bone spurs. There are a lot of endocrine systems that get impacted from calcifications. So in HTMA, which is the hair tissue mineral analysis, we start to see the calcifications go way up. And that's when I know that person is inside the silo, inside the concrete wall or walled city kind of thing, and they're not communicating with the outside world, or they just feel like they're so isolated, they don't belong in any group, or they just feel like nobody understands them, and they don't understand them, they are not being understood, that kind of thing. And another thing that happens in a hair tissue mineral analysis, that we start to see people who go from calcifications to completely depleted, and they almost have no electrolyte minerals left in them. So they are absolutely wiped out. They're exhausted. They can't get out of bed anymore. They can't find purpose in life, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the physical symptoms that we see when you start to categorize things. So I'm going to take it to the mind level. And Chris, do you have anything to add before I go into the mind?
Just one quick thing would be that those two patterns. And on one hand, you have somebody who is really caught up in their own boundary making with the calcification. So somebody that is really stubbornly insisting that their way has to be the right way, and they'll keep fighting for it and looking for ways to make that be so. And the other person who's depleted will start to feel like everything that requires any of their energy beyond what it takes to survive is essentially a threat. And so you'll find that those people will have a category of just danger and exhaustion and pushback on just about everything. So these are both very difficult patterns when it's time to be releasing, because one of them is about absolute survival and the other one is about hanging on to a really fixed identity. So these are just things we can see in our bodies and patterns that we can watch for and start to take action on.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go into the brain side of this, of categorizing. So the brain loves to put them into compartmentalized buckets, okay, the different things, because brain is always looking for a pattern. I mean, that's a normal thing that the brain does, okay, because that's one way that the brain can conserve energy, because it's all about this law of the efficiency principle. It's not a law, but it's a principle, the efficiency principle. So your brain requires about 25 to 30% of your glucose, right? Your energy fields. So it's going to try to conserve that energy as long as it can by putting them into categories that you don't have to think twice about. Okay. And it fundamentally, brain gets a little bit, I wouldn't call it lazy, but it's just a way of surviving, right? Just to calorie conserve. Brain is going to put them into different categories. And it's very difficult to put them, to take that thing out of the one bucket and put it into the other, or mix them together, because it confuses the brain and requires a little bit of effort on your part to do that. So brain will say, I like this, I don't like this. It's usually duality too. Also, this is good, this is bad, this is to be avoided, this is fine to go on with. And so it's just trying to do its job, right? It's not like it's trying to hurt you, but that's what brain is doing. And it basically creates your future or your decision, your current decision, based on what had happened in the past. Because that's what the brain stem and then your very old part of the brain is doing. It's that it's taken different snapshots of different categories you've created, different experiences you've had, and it's sorting through the library system and say, oh, I know this has happened to me before. Or yes, don't you remember when you're 17 and you did this and this and that? This is what this is happening. Like, this is the repeat of that. And so the brain will just make you assume that's what's happening, so that you overall relax. But what I'm saying is that 2021 is no longer about being able to categorize everything based on the past history and past memories. I'm not saying everything's going to change, but there will be different things that you have to co-create in that moment. So staying in that moment and creating a different way of looking at things. It's not the same library system is going to work anymore. Okay. So this requires a little bit of energy. This is why, not even just a little bit, actually, everyone, it's going to require energy to do this, because it's neuroplasticity. It's like you're going to start to wire different parts of the brain, and you're going to start to think differently. You're going to communicate with the different parts of your body so that you can take actions forward. So in order for your legs and your pelvic floor to move, you have to have your brain wiring differently, your heart resonating it in a different ways, and your gut has to be able to digest what's coming through, the information and all the things you're sorting it out, then sends the energy down to your pelvic floor and ignites like a firehouse, or not firehouse, or a powerhouse, and then get your legs to move forward into action. So it's a lot of energy. Okay. So this is why you want to keep putting the energy back into your savings account, energy savings account. That's what I've been saying, right? And one of the ways to do that is to pause and to quiet down and relax into this moment for a while, and just say, I am not going to consume more things right now. I am going to quiet down who I am, because the answer is always in me. Okay. It's always in you. Okay. So just make sure you know that you need the energy to shift. And so you need to save the energy so you can borrow from that. And then it also requires you to trust your own voice. You have to trust your inner knowing. You can't just go by what other people are saying. You don't just follow. I even started to think about, we used to do like ask the experts, or we have an expert here today, and then she or he is going to talk about X, Y, and Z, or ask column on the newspapers, or even like a Dear Abby. That's not what's going to work. You have to ask yourself, because the expert on this earth is you. You are the expert of you. That's why our tagline for Zen Shin Institute is become the expert of you. So that's where we're headed. And in order to do that work, you have to quiet down, go inward, and do some deep inquiry work, deep settling down work. So you're grounded in your feet. And this is just a little side note that I found it very interesting, was that over the weekend, on Friday, actually, I went with my best friend to say hello to his parents. And his dad is going to turn 100 in December. So December 31st, he's going to be 100 years old. So to be in the space with somebody that's been on this earth for a century was incredible, right? And then his mom is 96. So and then I asked him, I always love to ask people of that age, like, you know, do you have any suggestions or do you have any word of wisdom? And they at first just kind of shook the head, and he said, forgiveness. Forgiveness is very important. And I said, oh, so are you working on that still? He said, yes, I am. I'm still working on forgiveness. And, he sounded like he's not quite all done with his forgiveness work. So that was one. But one of the things that he said I thought, that is so last century. And I didn't resonate with that. And I thought that's kind of interesting. I didn't resonate with that because growing up in Japan, we were taught so much to respect the elderly. You listen to what they say, and you really want to kind of take that as like a written on the stone kind of thing, what the elderly have said to you. But this 100-year-old man says to me, okay, he said, well, my recommendation or, my suggestion is to follow the lead. Always do what you're told, kind of a thing. That's what he was saying to me, that you follow the lead and you just do what you're told to do. And I thought, that's not resonating with me. Maybe last century, maybe, but not this time around. So I was just kind of looking at him like this. And then his wife, 96-year-old, chimed in and she said, well, that's not going to apply to you, Masami. And that's why you do what you do. And, that's why you've accomplished so much, or something like that. And so she understood. But I was kind of taken by those two concepts of follow the lead and versus listening to my own voice and really going with this, my own voice. I'm choosing to do that. That choice is going to become more and more important in 2021, to choose your path, to choose your voice, and to choose the way that resonates with who you are on the body, mind, spirit level, not just on the mind, but not just on the spirit level, not just on the body level, but all of that. So I just kind of wanted to mention that interesting and intriguing encounter that I had over the weekend about it. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about with the brain, and this is a question that I would love for all of you to start to work on for the next week, is in order to change your brain and in order to change the wiring of your brain, you want to look at these two things. One is the generalizations or generalization, and then the other one is deletion. Okay, so generalizations and deletions. Okay, generalizations are when you use the word like all, okay, or always, everyone, everybody, people. So anything that has like every on it, okay, every person, that kind of thing. That's the generalizations. We all do this because this is what keep us feeling safe. This is what keep us in the silos, right? That are feeling like it's a safety zone. So just pause and think about, when do I use these words and when do I go there? And then the second one is the deletions. So this is when you're using the words like nobody, none, never, nothing. So you may lean more towards one or the other. For me, I see myself doing the deletions a lot. It's like, oh, nobody understands me. I used to say that a lot. And in many ways that reinforced it, like moving from a one, country living and born in the country that I was very different, to moving to northern Minnesota where I was different again. And moving around different areas of the world and so on and so forth. I did tend to go to the place of nobody understands me. But that will reinforce, because the more you go there, that the universe is going to keep giving you the examples of nobody understands me. And the sense of, well, I don't belong. And that has caused a lot of the second and first chakra issues for me. I've had cervical issues a lot in my teens into early 20s, cervical cancer stuff too. And I have actually injured my tailbone in a very damaging way when I was 19 also, that totally broke my tailbone and, torqued my pelvic floor. So there's that was the height of when I was feeling like nobody understands me. I'm all by myself, and leave me alone. And I was very angry at the world. It's like myself versus them kind of idea. So just pause for a little bit and think about, when do I use the generalizations and when do I use deletions? Okay, and I'm going to pause here for a moment. So maybe, Chris, you have something to add, or we might answer some questions. So
Yeah, a couple of questions have come up, but I'm going to just add to this that on this theme of what the brain does, the brain is essentially lazy, if you want to put it in behavior terms. It likes to lie around until action is absolutely unavoidable and required. And it's because it requires so much energy to do anything that it does. And so what's coming up for me with what you're saying, Masami, is that it's like we spend a lot of energy on reinforcing our worldview and being right, and we do a lot to just ensure that we are feeling that way, that we feel like whatever it is we're thinking and doing is right. Other people are maybe wrong compared to what we're doing at times, but we spend a lot of energy doing that. And I wonder how it would be if we spent more of our energy looking at what's true, especially in terms of what we can see is factually the case in a situation where we're uncomfortable, instead of reverting back to our energy conserving brain, which says whatever I think is right is probably what's true, to actually say, what else is here in this situation besides what I think is right, and expend some of that precious energy to expand yourself and to see what else is also there.
yeah, thank you. And before we harvest a little bit of pauses, I wanted to, along the same line of releasing and letting go of putting things into a category. So that's what we're going to be working on this whole week. We tend to do this with our health a lot because, I'm in a health world. So I suppose my examples are a lot to do with that. And then also financial stuff come up a lot too in these category thinking. But we tend to give our power away to somebody else other than yourself. And we tend to put that categories into seen and unseen when it comes to health. And so the blood test shows this, or blood test didn't show this, but let's say showing part, the seen part would be x-rays, MRIs, blood tests, and so on. And so even a hair test, and say, well, this is what you can see. So this is the only thing that the eye can really pay attention to. Or you go to the doctor, or you talk to somebody with the healthcare professionals, even including myself, and say, but I'm feeling these things. I'm sensing these things. These are the dreams that I'm having. These are the sensations I have in my second chakra, or these are the sensations I'm having at the top of my head, or I'm seeing lights that it's coming through in this kind of a rainbow colors and this and that. These can be unseen because it's not like I'm in your body, or the doctors are in your body so they can't see. But we have created a society that the unseen part cannot be real. And then the only seen is the real. And that kind of dichotomy, that kind of a separation, are not going to work in 2021 and beyond. So start to really look at your body and trust yourself, trust your inner knowing, even sometimes the things don't show up in your blood test, or things don't show up on your MRI. That doesn't mean that you are just automatically believing that. Some of my clients will say, well, maybe I'm just thinking it, or I've got, my doctor said it's all in my mind. Maybe not. I think it's worth discovering, worth learning about. It's worth going a little bit deeper into your sensations, and don't dismiss it, because we have to bring these two elements together, and not to do your health work only from the standpoint of what can be proven and what you've read, and what to eat, what not to eat, what supplements to take. Not only that kind of a thinking, but incorporate, like I said in September, really bring in your intuition, bring your guides, bring your ancestral knowledge, bring your angels, and bring the energetic fields, and bring them all in, and have them participate in your health, participate in your move forward to the 2021. Okay. So incorporating that's going to be very important. And one of the things that Chris and I have been talking about, and I thought, maybe we'll do the virtual retreat this month, but my inner voice said, no way. This month is we just got to get through this month. So offer that kind of a virtual retreat in November. So we are going to do a virtual retreat in taking you through these steps of releasing each step at a time. I have about 8 releases that I want to go over to prepare you for year 2021. And we're going to be calling it the art of inner knowing. The art of inner knowing is what we're going to be doing. So I think those are a couple of things I wanted to say. So this week, everyone, please work on releasing and noticing whenever you start to categorize things or box them in or putting them to buckets. Okay. And release out tendencies. Okay. So I think I can say so much more, but I think I'm going to end it there. And I do have a question that came in this last week that I wanted to address before go into the next steps. Yeah. And yes, I will put in, I'm going to be on Beyond the Ordinary show tomorrow. So I'll put the link there. And it's like my special link, I guess, that John gave it to me. And if you click on that link, he's going to prioritize you from asking to ask me questions. He's going to prioritize that. So I will put that link a little later here. But one of the questions that came to me was that I thought this was such an inspirational goal that she has. It's a question and a goal. So she has a goal by next March, because, I keep saying by March 2021, you need to have some kind of a goal set for that and aim for that. Her goal is to be able to do a handstand. And I thought that was so cool. She wants to work on, she started to do yoga again, and she wants to be able to do a free handstand. So not using the wall kind of a thing. And so she was asking me, how do I create strong core to be able to do that? And so I kind of tuned into it. And, I was a Pilates instructor, and then I'm a yoga therapist. But then my answer surprised me, because I was going to talk about how to strengthen your core. But my inner voice said, it's not about that. It's about working on letting go of your fear. And it's actually about strengthening your second and fourth chakra connections. And the fear in your case, okay, who you are that asked me this question. It's fear around money for you. It's fear about money. And I want you to really work on that if you can, and see if you could come back to, what does money feel like to you, and what does money almost even taste like to you? What would that money bring to you to be creative? So in order to do a handstand, you got to go to the fear, releasing the fear, letting go of the fear of the money first. And then when you're doing a handstand, you are upside down, right? So when you're upside down, there's a huge paradigm shift that's happening. And so it's releasing your old patterns, and it's releasing your old narratives and your stories. So think about all the stuff I've been talking about, because to be upside down means to flip or upset things, right? And is to overturn. So how you've been dealing with money, and what I sense from you is like, if I don't work 8 to 5, or if I don't have this job, I won't be able to sustain X, Y, and Z. Maybe look at the X, Y, and Z first and go back and say, wait a minute, do I need these X, Y, and Z? And how can I change that? So how you earn money is going to change next year for you. And then also, what do you believe about yourself and need to rewrite about yourself? Because you might be categorizing yourself into different boxes also. So your inner body is separated. And you can't do a handstand if you have different parts trying to do different things. And then another thing, that this is the last thing I'm going to say about this, is that you want to definitely work on strengthening your hands, because it's the handstand. It's not a core stand, but it's a handstand. And then the hands are one of those areas that it symbolizes your gripping. It's, you use your hands to grip, you use your hands to wave, you use your hands to stroke, you use your hands to hug, touch, hold, and express, right? So what are some of your expressions? What are you holding on to? What are you gripping onto? See if you can let go, because the true handstand, I've done handstands many times as well, but to do a beautiful handstand, you have to have a hand that is actually flexible and strong at the same time. And you want to move. You want to readjust your position constantly. You don't just stay there static just because you went into handstand. You don't just stay there like a concrete pole, right? So it's the movements that are going to be very important. All right. So that's one of the questions I wanted to answer. And anything, Chris, you want to read some of the questions?
Sharon asked a question earlier when we were talking about the mineral tests and some of the symptoms that come up around these resistance patterns. And she wanted to know if any of this was connected to the gut and microbiome issues.
You mean the gut issues? Could you tell me?
Questions,
Yeah.
we were talking about these two patterns, the calcium shell and the other one. And so her question came up then, are they connected to gut and microbiome issues as well?
It's a secondary, Sharon, with the calcifications issues and then the creating silos around you kind of a thing. It's more of a digestive issue. So it's more of an upper GI issue. So it's more, do you have a digestive fire? So it's more of a third chakra issue than a second chakra issue. So are you able to digest information? Are you overloading yourself? Are you combining too many things? So in terms of a health language, you don't want to put a plate full of all kinds of different things in there. You don't want to have 3 kinds of protein and 5 different kinds of vegetables and all kinds of fats and fruits on top of it. And that's just too much food combinations. And I think we do that in our lives too. We try to tackle everything at once. Whenever I work with clients, it's like, oh, can I work on everything? Like, can I work on my digestion, my sleep issues, my weight issues, my hair loss, my skin issues, my ex-husband, my daughter? It's like, okay, can we just start with one? And I think it's a digestive issues that causes us to have hair tissue mineral analysis of the calcifications in particular, and the depletion later on. Okay. And Sharon, with the last week's hair question, I just kind of assumed that it was a question of you. But what I sensed from you after I got off the call was the 7th chakra was really hot. Like there was just so much heat right here. And I feel like there's just too much like trying to learn, trying to make up for the lost time is what I sense. So let go a little bit. Know that you know enough. You are enough and you know enough. Okay, so hopefully that's going to help to get your hair to start growing back again. And mine has stopped shedding, so it's awesome.
I wanted to add one quick thing, which is a simple yes to that question too, which is just in the sense of when your stress levels go up, because your mind is racing so much and your information overload is so high, it's going to have an impact on your digestive system. So that's just a basic reality. And so we don't have quite the time to go into the depth of that, but there is directly a connection between low energy patterns, resistance patterns in your mind body system, and how your body uses its resources. Because the more stress you have, the less energy you have for digesting. So you'll eventually have effects there too.
Yeah, and then hold on, I was gonna send everybody that link. So that's the link to do the John Burgos's call tomorrow on the Beyond the Ordinary show, and it's at 6 my time, so 8 p.m. Eastern time. So it's a little late for Eastern. Is it? I think it is. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So please check that, and then you need to sign in to actually for him to know that you're the priority. Okay. That you came through this link. So, okay. And then any other questions on, thank you. Yes. As an entrepreneur, I have had digestive issues. Okay. So that's a curious connection you made. You mix the two buckets together. So, right. As an entrepreneur, I've had digestive issues, including the hair. So I'm going to question that. Sharon, am I saying it right? Sharon? Okay. Right. I'm going to ask you to play around with those equal signs. That's something I want everybody to do also. Okay. Whenever you say, because I'm from the Midwest, okay, or because I'm 57, okay, because I'm retired, because I'm blah, blah, okay. Let's not put that together. Okay, let's just, what if we didn't know the sky was blue? What would the color be? Kind of idea. So I would start there with your digestive issues, because I think there's what I sense, and I please don't take this from I'm coming from a heart, okay? There's a little bit of rigidity where I sense from your patterns, rigidity of eating patterns, also choosing what to eat and what not to eat kind of thing. There's a rigidity around it. So see if you could soften it up. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Okay, Chris, you have other questions that came up?
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge what Richard wrote. When you were talking about Steve's parents being nearly centenarians, he mentioned that his remaining aunt just passed away today at age 106.
Wow.
So that's almost like a congratulations are in order.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I just wanted to make that comment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, it's just, how you take it. Like if you heard somebody say, well, you just need to follow the lead and don't question the lead, how does that sit with you? Right. I think a lot of entrepreneurs would say, heck no with that, and maybe that's why I'm an entrepreneur, right? I don't know, but it just didn't resonate with me. But there's a Japanese side of me that said, oh no, I better respect that. That's wisdom I need to remember. And I thought, no, my heart was like, no way. That's not how am I going to live? And my gut said, yeah, I don't think we need to follow the lead. What is your voice? Is what it said. So that's just me. That was my processing, right? I think you will have to choose what works for you, right? Any other thoughts on what we talked about? Any other questions that came in, Chris, that I
weren't
missed?
any other questions, just some excitement to see you on John's show tomorrow. So that's going to be great. And if no one else has questions, I've got.
Ariel has a sinus infection but I have a head cold trying to turn into sinus. Okay, so turning to maybe, right? Ariel, iodine. Get yourself a liquid iodine and put that in your neti pot and start to rinse out your sinuses. Your iodine is going to break the biofilm. So that's the sticky kind of mucousy things that the fungus and yeast are in. So, you want to remember that the sinus issues are practically 100% of the time, but I'm not going to say, always, but about 98% of the time, fungus and yeast. Okay. So you don't want to address your sinus infections only with antibacterial, medications and things like that. You always want to use something to work with against fungus and yeast. So your diet needs to clean out whatever stressors you're carrying. You've got to get that under check. Okay. And I mentioned that I wanted to just do a pausing a little bit. So I thought maybe everybody can put your hand on your heart center and your other hand on your second chakra, so lower belly. About an inch below your belly button will be great. And just close your eyes this time if it feels comfortable. Of course, if you want to keep them open slightly, that's okay too. And you're just noticing the warmth. My hands are cold, so I'm not feeling the warmth through my hands, but I'm definitely feeling the sensations from my hands. Communicating with my fourth and second chakra. And just pause for a moment. Please don't multitask right now. Nothing to be done. Nothing needs to be sorted out. Just harvest this pause for a moment. And dropping your chin slightly as if you're bowing towards your inner beauty and your inner knowing. And on your own, just 5 breaths here. Focusing on your exhales coming out of your nostrils. Breathe in through the nose, out through the nose. Let's do one more breath on your own. And as you breathe out, put that energy into your savings account. Good. And release. And just notice how your pelvic floor feels after that. How your sits bones, tailbone, your thighs, and your legs. Do they feel a little more grounded and connected? Good. So that's, I think, what I have today. And I know that the several of you said you've been having insomnia and things like that. So I hope, this will help at the, not just the spiritual side of it, but the insomnia and exhaustion. But let's pick an insomnia today. Has a lot to do with what you're digesting in a day. Because your brain has to sort out everything all day, but in the nighttime, the lymphatic system, so your brain lymphatic system has to clean out the junk from your brain. And I'm going to talk more about this on tomorrow's call with John's call, but brain is literally doing a cleanup all during the night. And so in order for that lymphatic system to work well, number one, if you eat late, your brain is going to suffer. Okay. I'm going to say that again. If you eat late, your brain is going to suffer. because your body is going to still be digesting the food when you're trying to go to bed instead of trying to clean out the brain. And if your digestion is sluggish and you're still trying to digest the foods that you ate so late, then your lymphatic system in your gut, which is massive, a massive amount of lymphatic system in your gut, is going to be working overtime and can't get to the place of supporting the brain lymphatic system to drain. So that's number one, is that your eating habits will have to change if you want to sleep better. That's one. Okay. And number two, if you have hypoglycemia or you have blood sugar dysregulation because you eat, snack all day long, and you're snacking on high on carbohydrates and sugar, then your brain is going to suffer, and that's going to get you into a roller coaster of a blood sugar during the night, and you won't be able to sleep very well either. So there are two things, right? Don't eat so late. And if you're one of those people that wake up and have no hunger and you eat, snack the rest of the day, then you've got to change the way you eat and treat yourself with the most beautiful kindness. And I'm going to read this quick quote. Okay. It's from Pinkola Estes. And I'm sure I have a book from her there, Women Who Run with the Wolves. Right? So for those of you that know about archetypal work, she's the best to look at. It says, the body is like an earth. The body is like an earth, as vulnerable to overbuilding, being carved into parcels, cut off, overmined, and shorn of its power as any landscape. The body is like an earth, as vulnerable to overbuilding, being carved into parcels, cut off, overmined, and shorn of its power as any landscape. So I think, she's an incredible teacher, but we cannot overmine ourselves. We cannot over detox ourselves. These are a very masculine practice we've done to our bodies. Cut and parcel them out and remove and replace. And we've got to come back to the more of a feminine way, gentle, kind way of treating who we are. Okay. So that's what I wanted to say about that. So I think I will wrap up if we don't have any other thoughts. Lydia has a home remedy, so that's awesome. Is this for Ariel, maybe? Can you read that, Chris?
Sure. She says, bring half an onion, 4 to 6 cloves of garlic, grated ginger, and 2 sticks of cinnamon to a boil. Remove from stove and let it sit for 5 minutes. Strain the mix in a cup. Add the juice of a lemon and honey to taste and enjoy. And it helps with colds.
Yeah, and helps with the trick or treating. They will probably give you a treat because they will be afraid of the smell. But yeah, that's a fantastic thing to do. In Japan, I would probably add more ginger to it and turmeric into it. Yeah. But yeah, that kind of stuff. And a lemon, you can even add a little more lemon juice in it. I would definitely drink that throughout the winter months. So, okay. So I think that's what I have. Oh, you have more?
I just have one last thing I'd like to say about.
Oh yeah, you have a
I'm
poem you
not
want
going to
to
read that today. It's a little bit long, but I'm going to just say that in this process of seeing where we can let go of things and follow this phrase that Masami was saying of reading the waves versus writing the waves. The image, we talked about this earlier today about kayaking on a river or canoeing on a river, and you're watching ahead, you're scanning to see how the little ripples in the water indicate things. It might be a log or an animal or a fish or a rock, something you need to navigate around or just be mindful of. And I think the question that came up for me is, how do we How do we do this? What guides us? And I pulled out a quote, but I'll save it for another time. And I'll just sum it up and to say, let beauty be the guide as you're starting to make these decisions around what needs to be let go, and follow that inner sense of beauty for you, because that's going to be a big clue to show you what is worth letting go. And sometimes that's a beautiful, even if it's somewhat painful at times, but that process can be beautiful. And also what remains will shine more brightly with the beauty that it has when we can let go of what's no longer needed. So I just wanted to plant that seed, and we can come back to that at another time.
Yep, and I put that, oops, that's went to the private. I will put the link again for tomorrow's call there. So please join. And yeah, I think really please harvest pauses. And thanks, Chris, for that, because it's really, beauty is all around us always. And if we don't pause, we miss it. And we don't want to regret that, at your deathbed and say, oh, I wish I spent a little more time looking at the beauty and less on something that irritated me more and, agitated me, but to pay attention to the beauty that is unfolding even in the midst of this crazy times. So start working on what we talked about today. Okay. And then I will introduce more of that in the coming weeks. Okay. Thank you, everyone.